Motorist is probably one of those cryptic minigames in the FNaF franchise. For those who don't know, in Midnight Motorist, you play as a guy named Orange Guy or Cheeto Man, who walks around in these general areas before heading towards his house while driving a purple car. In his house, we meet the Couch Guy, and we also get mention of some runaway kid that's a boy, most likely, given the usage of he/him pronouns from Couch Guy and Guy. And the idea of these three are probably one of the most important things of this franchise. Due to this, there are actually a few theories that mention who is who, and I'm going to go over each single one of them. The first of these theories is that Orange Guy is William Afton, the runaway kid is the bite victim from FNaF 4, and Couch Guy is Michael Afton. Due to the Couch Guy and Michael Afton having the same general colors and being an older brother figure, meaning the crying child has to be the runaway kid, and due to us knowing that Michael Afton's son William Afton and William Afton drives a purple car, this must be William Afton himself, and he's just orange just to avoid confusion from the previous game. The second theory is Michael Afton being the runaway kid. The Couch Guy is either Henry and Emily looking after Michael Afton, Mrs. Afton, who's still at home grieving due to the fact that her son died, or it's just some random babysitter William has to keep track of Michael. William is still the orange guy in this context. And that's pretty much it with the theory. Except for the fact it kind of leads to the events of FNaF 4, in a sense I'll get to later. The third theory is that this is even about the Aftons. This is about the death of Cassidy, due to the fact that the other main games showed the deaths of Charlie and Susie, who are considered to be the most important deaths of the franchise. And babysitter is probably who Couch Guy is, and the father is who's Cassidy's father for this context. And Cassidy either runs away or was kidnapped by William Afton, which I have issues with, but I'll get to that in due time. This theory is just the same as the previous, but instead of Cassidy, it's Andrew from the books, well, Faster is Right, and he's the one tormenting William in Ultimate Custom Night. And these are just pretty much our theories in a nutshell. And theorized that Andrew was kidnapped by William. Again, issues that I have that I'll go over time. Let's begin with the one that I have the most issues with, that being the Andrew theory. Because that one has a few holes in it. The first of these issues is the fact that this required these books to be canon to the games. And there's a couple problems with that. One of those is that in Gumdrop Angel, the story what we found is a retelling of FNaF 3 where the main character is Hudson. And it's been pretty much accepted that we're either playing as Henry Emily or Michael Afton in FNaF 3. So yeah, that's like the first plot hole to this theory. The second issue with this is the fact that 5 bodies have been reporting not being found in the FNaF location. And Andrew, yeah, he would count as number 6 if Cassidy were to exist within this continuity. Hell, even the original story Into the Pit has 6, bodies found, so this necessarily cannot be the case, because, again, 5 kids already dead by that point. And trying to make this possible, you set up a scenario where William would get spring locked and died, similar to what we see in this scene right here. So yeah, because he will be wearing his spring trap costume. And it has to be this costume because this was the costume William used what we see in the 30 Maze minigame, and this is most likely the costume he would wear. You can make the argument he took off the costume, but even then, you're just saying that just to justify something that wouldn't even happen. And the final point is the fact that, again, if these art books are happening, that kind of set things back to square one, which many people don't like the idea, given we saw the resumption of Burn Trap and Security Breach. So, yeah, if these books are indeed canon. See, someone covered the idea of these books being canon is frustrating. I highly recommend Check out Sire Squawk's video on that matter. Link will be in the description down below. Same with the other videos I used for this video. Pretty much my issues with Andrew runaway theory. Because we have like 3 more theories to go. And this is like the dumbest one so far. On to the second theory, the Cassidy runaway theory. Now that theory also have issues, and I'm gonna go over to them right now. The immediate issue is the fact that, again, much like the Andrew runaway theory, you know, Springtrap and all that beautiful crap, and the ring will still be damaged. And we know William used the yellow suit in FNaF 2 because Phone Guy mentioned it. We know William went to the FNaF 2 location because of the save them minigame, which is the FNaF 2 location. You could potentially argue that this runaway could be right since the MCI was happening in 1985 and this is 1987. If you want to argue that, William would have to fix that quite a bit, which means he needs to get access as to anyway, so yeah, there's that issue. Finally, the final issue. Oh, on top of other things that can also apply to the Angel thing, and that will be the fact that Cassidy's gender has been debated so much like Mango. Who knows, maybe actually Cassidy ends up being in Mango and not Golden Freddy. But either way, you know, Cassidy is most likely a girl. Given every other character shared the same gender as their novel counterparts, why not Cassidy? And you know the runaway kid is a boy given the fact that Count Potato said to leave him alone. And not to mention it was also raining, which again also plays the whole Andrew issue like I mentioned earlier. And also just mention it in its own segment. Here's one more thing I need to mention. I plan to debunk the whole idea Cassie is a girl and it will be ultimate custom made. At first glance, Mango and Weird Chica saying they seen him, the one you shouldn't have killed. By its time, Cassidy, who is definitely would be the one you shouldn't have killed in this context, has to be a boy. But this is also where things get tricky because Charlotte, despite being a girl, is referred to as the he in the form of a puppet, which means that the costume character's gender is more important than the dead kid's gender. Due to this could also mean that, again, Cassie could easily have been a girl, and Golden Freddy just is the one you shouldn't have killed, being referred to as, in this context, as the costume character. So, you know, kind of fits in a way. Now, I know someone else will argue, okay, that's all dandy, but what about the idea that William Afton is, well, orange? And like I mentioned earlier, he's orange because Michael Afton was purple. I guess there's no way to like differentiate between the two. Maybe you could have argued that they could make like orange guy pink. Maybe we got the idea this might be William Afton. Who knows? But anyways, and not only I think it's William Afton, we have seen a purple car in that minigame. And in a FNaF 2 minigame, there is a purple car. A car that's almost look like the one that William drives in the FNaF 2 minigame. So, and given that FNaF 2 minigame got rebooted, or we've seen in the security puppet minigame, was this Charlie's minigame, this means that this has to be the same car. And not only that, Midnight Motorist is later that night. That wouldn't make sense unless this is supposed to be the night Charlie dies, meaning that this couldn't be the MCI as that's happening in 1985. And given it's raining, that will also explain why William Afton would be wearing his suit. Because he wouldn't be there at that point. He's literally speeding up away from Charlotte's death. And due to this, we know Charlotte died before 1985. Presumably either in 1983 or 1984. are those two dates. Here are Fred Spears' Family Diner or Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, Location 0. So this, everything I said, this could mean that, again, this had to be the same person. So, Orange Guy is indeed William Afton. At the very least, that's the most likely scenario. I mean, the Orange Guy is not Cassidy's father, as we never get an inkling what their family is like in the games. So, yeah. The closest we gotten was like Susie's family in Coming Home in one of the Fazbear's Fright stories. But that's pretty much it. And again, that's once again assuming that story is canon. Books being canon. And if you guys want to live in a world where Fazbear is canon, for the case of Andrew, yeah, I would love to see you argue Fazbear being canon and possibly being Fazbear. Just saying. Now we get to the real meat and potatoes of this ordeal. We finally reached the real meat and potatoes for this entire video. The fact that the Midnight Motorist runaway kid can either be two characters, Michael Afton or the Weeping Kid. And whoever those runaway kid is will factor in who will play as not only FNaF 4, but who may or may not be the first death. Let's start off with Bite Victim. So Bite Victim will include the fact Bite Victim went to Freddy Fazbear Pizza or Fredbear's see Charlie's dead body, and that's why he's scared of animatronics now because of that incident. It also suggests that he also have followed someone, maybe Shadow Freddy, which would fit given the fact Shadow Freddy have the animatronics follow him in FNaF 3. I'm going to explain the problems with this. The first problem is the fact that crying shows allows him to, curl up and cry constantly. They can make the argument he's traumatized what he'll see, but that's the thing, we don't really know what he's seeing. Or at the very least, the general idea. Or do we? Because there is a general idea what we've seen. And not enough, it's something Scott hinted towards ever since FNaF 4 and FNaF World. Is what is seen in shadows is misunderstood in the mind of a child. Now, there are three things that could actually come to mind when talking about this hint. And those three being this. And that crying child has been this scene right here. The puppet hugging Charlie's body. But there's a problem with that logic. This requires A, him to be the runaway kid in the first place, and B, Charlie being the first one to be dead. And it's also debated and can be argued that Bite Victim could also be the first victim of the entire franchise, given the date of 1983. Now wait, that's a problem. The second thing that he could have misunderstood is this. What do these look like hairs? They are probably most likely wires. And given that we probably misunderstood that as well, that could be the case. Although I don't see any evidence of that back room being completely dark or within the shadows. So this kind of leads probably the only good answer, or at the very least, the only true answer, probably. And it has to be this scene, with the purple guy putting someone in a suit. Now this can either be Crying Child misinterpreting it as purple guy literally stuffing someone in a suit, kidnapping them, or simply just being the characters actually living things and seeing these guys like this probably traumatized him. Kind of like any kid would think the people in the costumes of Mickey Mouse are real. Pretty much leads to Midnight Motorist, and honestly, a lot of things does work out for Midnight Motorist. One of them being that we all know Mike is a troublemaker. Definitely we see in FNaF 4, but we also see him tamper with animatronics in FNaF 1, presumably 2, and any other game. And we know he set places on fire, like we see in Fazbear's Fright, and that's pretty much all we can gather for that scene alone. I do think we do play as him in Five Nights at Freddy's 4, and that is due to the fact that this is a dream he's having based on his childhood experiences with nightmare animatronics that are scaring him, or it's apparently something willingly made just to torment Michael for, you know, killing his own brother in the bite of 83. And given that this is mimicking some stuff in FNaF 1, and you hear phone guys call, that makes sense. Because of the survival logbook, which is suddenly canon to the games. As we all know, this thing is owned by Mike. And we all know there are two Mikes in this franchise. Mike Schmidt, the guard from FNaF 1, and Michael Afton, the character who plays in Sister Location, as well as Foxy Pro. And it's been kinda hinted and semi-confirmed that these two, Mike Schmidt and Michael Afton, are one and the same, so yeah. This is Mike because there's something interesting in this thing. The fact that it has a picture of Nightmare Fredbear, meaning that Mike had to see him, and the only instance we can see him is in FNaF 4. Now you might be thinking, wouldn't that mean that Mike is the crying child? And while this was a theory Matt has suggested for a while back then, it kind of been debunked because there are some older texts in this book. The red pen is written by Mike. The faded text is Cassidy, and there is some older text. For example, Cassidy said the party was for you, and the altered text saying the party was for me. Being altered text is definitely the bite victim. Due to this, Mike is a separate character, and the one character who can accept Mike on is FNaF 4 Foxy Pro. And there was also a theory, or at least some interpretations, that suggest that in FNaF 4 we're experiencing the guilt of Foxy Pro, which is a pretty cool concept, evidently, but we just didn't really have enough evidence for it at the time, given that FNaF 4 was just the most recent game and was, FNaF World, essentially. But we have gotten this game, and not only that, well, when I say game, I mean this thing, the survival logbook, which confirms that Mike experienced the nightmares in FNaF 4. The layout in FNaF 4 is real because of Sister Location, confirming it to be the case. And to this means that someone had to experience it. The one person who could experience it is Mike. Again, this kind of hinges on the idea that Crying Child is the first death, and probably he is the most likely first death because 1983 was like the earliest date we've gotten in the entirety of FNaF history. And not only that, Fredbear could be the one luring Mike possessed by the Crying Child, Fredbear being possessed by it, or potentially could be a scarecrow thing there oddly that is wrinkled. Mike could just push it, or just throw something at it, or just carry it away from him. And that's pretty much it for the discussion of this video, semi-what. That's kind of brings us an end to this fun ride going 240 miles per hour. If I were to do a general ranking system, I think the most likely to least likely, Mike is at 8 out of 10, Crying Child's at a 6 out of 10, Cassie's like at a 3 out of 10, and Andrew's just 1 out of 10. Don't get me wrong, I think Mike and Crying Child has like the highest chances of these four, but Mike being a bit higher in my opinion due to personality's sake. Cassie is just only higher than Andrew because at least Cassie exists in the game world, and we don't know if Andrew exists in the book in the game world as well. Not to mention again, Into the Pit kind of contradicts the 5 missing kid thing, and in fact that newspaper is the reason why I placed him so low. But that said, let's go away 240 miles per hour away, and see you in another video. Goodbye.